I don't know. I came home with a headache. And not from then. I woke up with one and choking like. And I was going to read you some of the stories, but I got so angry when I saw the story out of New York. My heart started to pound. A young, beautiful girl was jogging a couple of years ago in Brooklyn, you see. And she was found mutilated and raped in the Reeds. Well, they found the killer. How do you know they found the killer? Well, for one, he confessed. Secondly, his DNA was found on her fingernails and on her neck and on her cell phone. Looked like an open and shut case, didn't it? The father and mother almost died from the pain of retrieving the body of their beautiful young daughter. But guess what happened yesterday? A psychopathic left-wing fanatical judge threw the case out on a mistrial. Mistrial declared in the case of slain Queens jogger Karina Vetrino. Even though they got the killer, he admitted to it. And I'll repeat again, his DNA was found on the neck of the 30-year-old victim. His DNA was found under her fingernails. His DNA was found on her cell phone. The left-wing fanatical judge agreed with the Legal Aid Society and said that they had a hung jury. They threw it out after only a few hours, 13 hours of deliberation for the murder of this beautiful young girl. And they threw the case out. The move shocked the courtroom. One relative screamed out in the court, "Oh, my God." But the judge wasn't moved by it. Chanel Lewis, the alleged killer, 22 of East New York, who was accused of attacking Ms. Vetrino near her Howard Beach home and dumping her body in the weeds near a jogging path in August, well, he went home all smiles. Judge Michael Aloise in Queens Supreme Court agreed with the jury, who said after deliberating for the entire day, we are split. It doesn't seem like we can make progress. We feel that we've exhausted all of our options. This is shocking because it was only 13 hours of deliberation over 2 days. They found DNA evidence. The man confessed to murdering her and leaving her like a broken rag in the woods. They saw graphic detail, how the young man killed a young woman, how he beat her, strangled her, sexually assaulted her when she went out for a run near the family's home. Prosecutors described this vermin as a violent loner, an outcast who purposefully attacked Vetrino. They even played a videotape confession by this piece of garbage and said his DNA was found on the neck of the 30-year-old victim, under her fingernails, and on her cell phone. But Lewis's team of left-wing vermin lawyers argued that he made up the confession because the police were tough on him. Made it up. He didn't really confess. He was forced to confess. Made the whole thing up. Even though he admitted on videotape that he grabbed her in the bushes, repeatedly punched her and dragged her into the tall grass. And he said, "There I finished her off," Lewis told the cops, according to the tape recording. Vetrino died of strangulation. He said, "I was beating her and was mad at her," Lewis said. Lewis is the man whose hands were wrapped around her neck, squeezing her neck, squeezing her throat, choking the life out of her body, said Assistant DA Brad Leventhal. They found the battered body face down in the weeds by her retired firefighter father. I don't have to read any more of this story because I will tell you this country is out of control. So many psychotic lawyers who have become judges have perverted and destroyed the whole sense of justice and the law, that as I sit here, I will tell you that Charles Bronson will return from the grave in the form of 1,000 men if this keeps up. But if you have something to say about either of these cases, you can. We're not going to talk about Turkey. I gave you a great opening, how to detect a nationalist at Thanksgiving that went over like a U-2. Flew at 85,000 feet, no one even heard it. So let's deal with this stuff. Peter on WABC, what's your point? Go ahead, please.
My condolences to the slain jogger's family and all that. But, Michael, you're doing your audience a disservice by going head cock or headstrong into interpreting a case. There's too many little loopholes that have to be looked at.
All right, there's a loophole of a dead girl. There's a loophole of the murderer's DNA on her fingernails. There's a loophole of the murderer's DNA on her cell phone. And there's a loophole of the murderer's DNA in her neck. What loopholes are there, Peter?
Okay, number one, if the kid is guilty, they should cut his testicles off. But the fact is, police, in this case, were put in a position where they had to come up with something. The family was demanding.
Oh, wait, so you're saying the police took the murderer's DNA and put it under her fingernails?
No. According to what I understand, the kid may have happened upon the body, and the kid's retarded. If you get a picture of the kid. He could.
I don't care if he's retarded in a wheelchair. If he did this, he should be chopped to ribbons.
Michael,
what do you mean? You're retarded? You're allowed to go rape women in a jogging path?
At B&H right now. Be cool. The fact is that...
No, you be cool. You're being stupid.
Old Jews...
You're being stupid. They found the murderer's DNA under her nails, on her neck, and on her cell phone. And you have the nerve to say the NYPD planted the DNA evidence?
I didn't say that. That's the purpose for the court to determine. Why don't you grow up?
I don't know what you're talking about. You're the one who sounds psychotic to me. Grow up. There's a dead girl with the murderer's DNA all over her, and you're telling me to grow up, you piece of stupidity, you? You're dumber than the DNA found in a massage parlor, in a toilet bowl. So this is what you're going to get in the country today. This is what you get on a jury today. This is how they do jury shopping. This is what jury selection is all about. These sick, demented, disgusting, filthy lawyers shop these things to people with an IQ like that piece of garbage you just called me. They find that the stupider they are, the more they're selected for a jury. The smarter they are, the more they don't want to be on a jury. They don't waste their time. The dumber they are, the more left-wing they are, the more racist they are, the quicker they get selected for a jury. And that's why I say you keep this up, Judge Friedman in Michigan and Judge Moron in Brooklyn. Charles Bronson will come back from his grave in 1,000 faces. We will have vigilante justice in this country if this keeps up. New York City, Juan on WABC, what's your opinion on this murder of this girl and the mistrial?
Well, Dr. Savage, thank you for taking my call. Let me just preface this by saying I've been a New York City police officer for 28 years, and I got to tell you that the assault on law enforcement in general is horrible, especially here in the city.
Well, it's under de Blasio, who hates police, hates a specific race, and has nothing but sympathy for the devil.
Absolutely. I work in the court system, and, they bring these individuals down. They refuse to take prints. They refuse to give DNA. They want to fight with the police officers who all we're just trying to do is do our job and get these people in and out and do our jobs and everything, and they assault us. And then, our elected officials make us seem like we're the enemy. This poor father had to pick up his daughter's body. Can you imagine what that feels like?
But wait, did you hear that the judge and the lawyer said that he contaminated the crime scene by hugging his dead daughter when he found the body in the marsh?
But the whole thing is this:
How do you go against human common sense? How do you let the so-called law go against common sense? How do you let that happen? How do you let that happen?
All right, how do you contaminate a crime scene with the killer's DNA? How do you do that?
Well, they didn't find the father's DNA on her neck, on her cell phone, and under her fingernails. They found the murderer's DNA under her nails, on her cell phone, and on her neck. But that wasn't good enough for the brain-dead jurors. They culled from the homeless population.
Well, that's because, you know why? Because our elected officials, they assault us, they insult us, they make us seem like we're the enemy.
The worst job in the world is being a cop in a big city today, run by a liberal mayor. The second worst job in a city today, a liberal city, is being a teacher, where they can't even teach. They let the morons take over the classroom. This is all because of the lawlessness of liberalism. I'm sorry to tell you and make it so simple, but that's what it is, Juan. Juan, when are you retiring? How many more years?
Well, God willing, if I can make it 2 more years, I'll have 30 years in, I've been a police officer for 30 years. I love my job. I love what I do.
Well, of course you love your job. You believe in justice and the law. But since de Blasio believes in injustice and the perversion of law, it's impossible for a guy to do his job. Well, where is de Blasio? Did he even go to the funeral, that bum? Michael, WABC, you don't agree that the DNA matters at all?
Yeah, because you know why? I'm going to say this real quick, that I appreciate you saying what you're saying in terms of your emotion of the case for people, but I think you emotionalizing and sensationalizing that written word. First off, you know.
Wait, excuse me, sir. Do you agree that the girl was found dead in the reeds? Yes or no?
Indeed, she was.
No. Let's take it a step at a time. Was this girl found dead in the swamp?
Yes, she was.
All right, fine. So someone murdered her and raped her. Would we agree with that?
Sure, and exactly. Yes, indeed.
And if it was your daughter, would you be so removed from the emotions of the case?
Having a 15-year-old daughter, I'd be incensed.
Okay, good. Well, at least we're on the same human wavelength so far, which is nice. We feel the same things about protection towards our family. So where do we disagree here, my friend?
Here's where we disagree, okay? Number one, I understand that he may have they may have his DNA, but this was a healthy, vibrant, healthy young lady jogging. She didn't fight him off. They didn't find her DNA on him by scratches or anything.
Wait. No, what do you mean they did? Wait. She didn't fight him off. He said she fought with him, and that's why he killed her.
So where's her DNA? They had to find her DNA. That would have been an open and shut case. Because how did her DNA...
Wait a minute, sir. They found his DNA on her neck, on her cell phone, and under her fingernails. She was fighting with him. Wait, you just said his DNA wasn't found on her. Hold it a minute. They found the murderer's DNA under her fingernails. What more do you need?
On him. They had to have some DNA from her. It had to be a transference of DNA. But here's what I'm saying about the DNA, Dr. Savage. 30 years ago, a young lady in Central Park said that she was raped by 5 young men. These same 5 young men were found not guilty after somebody else confessed. But you know what? You politicize this yourself when you say about the liberals and what have you. Your same president
let's slow down for a minute. Let's put aside liberal conservative for a minute and use common sense. God forbid this happened to your daughter. Would you be talking the same way?
If this was my daughter, I would want the killer. That's what I would want. And if somebody that...
But wait, they found the guy, and again, the guy's DNA was found under the, God forbid, a daughter's fingernails, on a daughter's neck, on a daughter's cell phone. How did the DNA get there?
Hey, I can't explain that.
Well, you can't explain it. You can't explain it because you don't want to accept the facts. You're basing all of your discussion on your sympathy for the murderer, and I think you're doing so for one reason only, and it's tribalism. And I'm going to take a quick break because I don't want to argue with you. Have a nice Thanksgiving. Michael in Oklahoma agrees that the father contaminated the crime scene. Michael, how do you agree with that?
No, just the opposite, Michael. It was not a contamination of the crime scene. It was an aspect of the crime scene. The judge was improper if he threw out the case based on the father's reasonable actions.
Let me put it in context. The so-called defense attorney from the Legal Aid Society said the father had contaminated the crime scene, and that so screwed up the low IQ jurors that they couldn't come to a conclusion after 13 hours, which is a very small period of time for a case of this kind. But that didn't stop the judge from throwing the case out, calling it a mistrial. Why? Why did he keep them there over Thanksgiving weekend? What, they would have missed the turkey at dinner, or what?
Well, Michael, you're absolutely correct. His instruction to his actions were improper. The father has legal recourse on appeal because I know about what I speak. The crime scene was not contaminated by the reasonable actions, the expected actions of the father. The judge's instruction to the jury should have been to, under the circumstance, consider that an aspect of the evidence that the jury must weigh along with the DNA evidence, and as you have stated.
Michael, you're calling from Oklahoma. You said something that caught my attention. You said, I know something. What is it? Something like this happened to you or what?
I had the death penalty filed against me, Michael. I know exactly everything about any kind of criminal case there is. And if it hadn't been for my expertise with regard to law, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
So what? You were unfairly accused of murder?
I defended my life against 3 assailants, and the judge threw out evidence where the crime scene was in fact contaminated. So it's up to the.
You were attacked by 3 people who tried to kill you, and what did you do? Kill all of them?
There were supposed to be 4 men that had premeditated attacking me. 2 of them did. There was a third there who contaminated the scene after I left to call law enforcement. I was prosecuted over 6.5 years with the DA's full knowledge that the crime scene had been contaminated.
Why were these men coming for you? Can I ask that?
I'm a rancher, and the circumstances that existed was that I was preventing cattle theft in the area. So I was.
Wow, this is the Old West, man. This is like a John Wayne movie.
Well, that's what the jurors thought. There was a fellow from New Jersey on my first jury, and he was asked. He said, "I bet you didn't think you were going to get into a circumstance like this." There were 2 men that attacked me, said they were going to kill me, set out to do it, and I stopped them. There was a third man there that when I left to call law enforcement, and I've taken all this information to the FBI, the state of Oklahoma is withholding it. They have
how did you kill them? How did you defend yourself? Was it with a gun?
Say that again, Michael.
How did you defend yourself? Was it with a weapon?
Yes, a lever-action 30-30 rifle.
Nice. Very nice. So there are real men left in the West.
Well, I'm just telling you in this instance, Michael, the father should force an appeal. The crime scene was not contaminated by reasonable actions on the part of the father. I wish you were the Attorney General of the United States of America. I'd sleep better at night.